Walk me through some of those cards. I know you have some cards there with you. Walk
Well,
me through.
you had said to me that you wanted to talk a little bit about some wins I've had and
That's right.
some losses as well
Yeah.
in the hobby. So I use Card Ladder, and I have some of my cards in the collection
Hmm.
feature on Card Ladder. And what that does is it tells you, if you input what you paid, it tells you what it's worth and what your unrealized profit would be. So when you asked me for some wins, I went into my Card Ladder and I sorted by profit, so I
Yeah.
know where the highest profit would be in cards. And I pulled out a bunch of cards that fell in there. I pulled out this many, so I don't know if you want me to show them all, but I can show I can
Go
show
through
you
as
kind
many
of.
as you like there. I think there's some stories there.
Yeah, there's definitely some stories here. So I'll start with the biggest one. The biggest one because it's the biggest profit unrealized, of course, that I have on a card. So it's this guy right here. It's the Michael Jordan Jambalaya, which
On
is
a
a
card.
very,
On a card. Yeah.
yeah, it's a very big, very important card. It's a True Gem Plus 9.5. And so I bought this card in January of 20 uh was it 19 or 20, 2019 or 2020, like just before everything went crazy. And this card, since I mean, on Card Ladder, I think they have it valued at $119,000 right now.
Hmm.
And I
It's a low pop, very hard to get. So let's just
yeah.
talk through this. The borders of the card are extremely hard to grade. Surface borders extremely hard.
And centering too. Centering's
Yeah.
tough on this one too. This has 10 corners and the other 10 corners because there are none,
Hmm.
and 9.5 surface centering and edges. So it did really well. And I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, so they value it's my biggest profit card, I guess you could say. I think I know what I paid. I paid 20,000 for it and it's now worth 120. So
Congrats,
that
sir. That's a
that's
beautiful.
that
It's a
yeah,
beautiful card, man.
yeah, thanks. That's a big win. I have this Michael Jordan Platinum Portraits that
Ooh,
also
nice card. Yeah.
did something similar to that.
Hmm.
Here's a great story, FD. So remember I said earlier that I've overpaid for cards before. So I when I bought these two cards, I broke the record for price paid for both of these. Now
Okay.
this one was a private deal, but
Hmm.
I paid more than any public comp, and this one I bought on eBay for more than had ever been paid.
Hmm.
But I mean that worked out very well for me. But those were bought in 2019. This card here I bought in 2000. It was either 2007 or 8.
Okay.
Bought it very impulsively. I was just starting to get into the baseball Hall of Famers, and I'm a rookie card guy. This is the card, the Mickey Mantle, the 51 Bowman, the actual
Yeah.
rookie,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, sir.
It's a PSA 6. So I bought this. I remember I was sitting at my dining room table on my laptop and I see this card and I just decided to bid on it and I ended up buying it back in it was 7 or 8, I forget. I think I paid $6,000 for it, and now it's worth considerably more than that.
Hmm.
But here's the thing: I knew nothing about the card when I bought it. I just knew it was his rookie card,
Okay.
and I knew that I wanted it. It looked nice and all that, but it was so impulsive when I bought it. Like I literally came across the auction with 3 minutes left. That's how quickly I decided to buy it. That I didn't do any research. So after the auction was over, I looked over at my room and I go, "Oh my god!" He goes, well, "What'd you do?" I go, "I just bought a Mickey Mantle rookie." He goes, "What'd you pay?" I go, $6,000. He goes, I said, and then I went and I looked at the comps, and the highest comp was like 4,500 or something like that at the
Hmm.
time. So I kind of felt like, oh damn, like what did I do? I just wasted $1,500. I could have found one for cheaper. Well, I put it away, forgot about it, literally didn't think about it for 6 or 7 years. And I went and looked at it again, and I was like, oh, it's worth $15,000.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. And now it's worth like 4 times that. So
Hmm.
again, I'm not sitting here telling people to spend, pay over market on things, but when it comes to really rare cards,
Yes.
you sometimes have no choice. Think about the Honus Wagner, the T206 Honus Wagner. Every single time that card has sold, it has set a new record,
Yes.
and nobody has lost money.
No. Great card. I mean, you got to think the athletes you just pulled out, legendary in their sport. That Mickey Mantle card is like a Grail card. When you start talking about baseball cards and rookie cards, that card comes up. There's some other Mantle cards that come up. The Jordan Jambalaya, the other one. I mean, if you're doing research on Jordan, if you're in there, those two cards are going to come up. If you're going to buy them or not, you will come across those comps. You will see those cards.
For sure. 100%. 100%. I won't go through all these. I'll show you a couple more, though. I know you'll love this one. I mean, who doesn't love this card? But Wilt Chamberlain, one of my favorite cards. This is a PSA 7.5, which is really high grade for
Very high
61
grade for
clear.
that card.
And I
And,
bought this.
and you don't have a denotation, right? It's not off center. There's no marks on that card. It's a very clean card. Borders are great. Wonderful card.
Yeah, no qualifiers. You know, yeah, it's a stunner of a card. And I bought this. You know, I bought it way before the boom happened, the recent boom. So it's another card that I'm in really good on, and I love it. You know, my friends outside the hobby, when they know what I'm into. They know I'm into sports cards in a serious way. And when they ask you what's it worth, every once in a while, what's it worth, and you tell them, why don't you sell it? Why don't you sell it? There's so
I get
much
that
product.
question all the time.
Yeah, why don't you sell it? It's not for sale. I didn't buy it to sell it yet. I mean, eventually I'm going to sell it. You know, when I'm 75, I'll sell it. But right now, it's not for sale. So that's why I'm not going to sell it. The fact that you have that several of us have cards worth a lot of money doesn't mean that we want to flip them. I mean, some people love to flip, but not me. So that's one of my favorites.
Another legendary athlete.
Well, here's another legendary athlete, but a different card. So I mentioned that I got into the 90s inserts, and that was in around 2017. And that really, I kind of got into it around the time that I discovered hobby content on YouTube with Cardboard Chronicles was my favorite, Josh Johnson with his interviews.
Okay.
And then when Nat Turner purchased the PMG Green Michael Jordan, which was in March of 2019, and actually the person he bought it from was on my show on Saturday, David Chow from Shanghai, just as a coincidence. Anyway, I started really getting to the basketball inserts, and at the National in 2019, the 2019 National, I purchased this card here, the PMG Red Shaquille O'Neal.
Jeremy Lee, wonderful card, man.
Wonderful card, right? Yeah. And I bought this for, at the time was a lot of money. Like I thought, wow, it was the biggest card of the show for me. I love the card. I mean, it's like love. There's true love here, there's true love for cards. But it's a card that has shot up in value since I bought it. Now, listen, anyone who owns some of these wonderful cards, and if you bought them before really March of 2020, you're in good on them. So yeah. I'm in good on a lot of these cards, just like a lot of other people are. So, yeah, there's some.
What on that Shaq card? What made you pick the Shaq card?
Oh, because I love Shaq.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. As far as basketball goes, there's 3 players that I guess 4 if you include Kobe, and I do have a love for Kobe, but Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Ray Allen. I love Ray Allen, and I don't have any of his cards. I used to. I sold the one I had. It was a Z-Pete debut, and I just didn't love it. So I need to get a Ray Allen card back. But Shaq, MJ, Kobe. I mean, hard to go wrong with these guys. I have a few LeBron cards. I pulled out a LeBron card here too to, as a card that I would consider a win because it's this guy here. This is a great card too. This is the Essential Credentials.
Yes.
This is the one numbered out of 102 rookie year. And
acetate, hard to grade, scratches easily.
Yeah, I bought this FD like right in the nick of time, and so this card has done really well for me as well. A couple others, I've got again, the only reason that I can share these wins is because I've been in for a long time. It's not like I'm no genius. I just bought because I was collecting and I held. So the same goes for this Bill Russell as a PSA 6. It's a beautiful 6. Yeah. So.
I've learned a lot about you just by looking at these.
Well, here, check out this card. That's a PSA 9.
Oh, wonderful.
I paid $1,000 for this card at that National in 2008. I bought it for $1,000. So it's got its old label, of course, because I've had it since then.
Oh yeah. But I think to me, I'm taking away that making moves certain players at certain times in certain parts of the market when something may be more affordable to people than times when it's maybe more affordable to less people. That's how I'll describe price values. And that stuff, those kind of characteristics in cars, right, stand the test of time. If you're looking for something and it's rare and it's a player that you know if you walked away from this car today, you may not see that car for a while. Those are the cards that I just saw you show me.
100% FD. That, and it ties into another piece of advice I would give people going to a card show, which is, especially with how many people are in the hobby now and how tough it is to find great cards. When you go to a card show and you see a card, never mind a card show, you could find this card anywhere. You could find it at your LCS, you could find it on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. It doesn't really matter. When you see a card that you really want and it's rare, you got to grab it. So if you go to a card show, don't think that you're going to do one tour, look at all the tables, write down what you want, where it is, and then go back and buy your favorite. It's going to be gone if it's a good card.
Especially not at a show like the National.
Any busy show, right? Yeah.
It's not happening. Yeah.
Not happening. It will be gone when you go back there. You have to pounce when you see the card you want.
And I say that because you have other people in that area with keen eyes as well. They're seeing something. They understand what the price is, where the trajectory is on the market of that car, and they're thinking, and they're ready to make a play on something.
There's more people out there that fit that description, FD, than ever before. That's right. Because of all the flippers that have come into the hobby. And I don't say that with any negative connotation. I just say the people who are coming in looking to buy a card and find a new home for it, relatively quickly with some margin. I mean, I do that too. I buy cards to sell as well, but I do draw. There is a pretty defined line for me between when I buy cards to sell and when I buy cards for my personal collection. So when you see it, you got to grab it, and you got to maybe pay more than you want to sometimes, because you're not going to have another chance. Well, you may, but you may not.
I mean, all those things you broke out there are almost like a mini museum. I know you have more, but I just want people to understand that everyone can tell their story. Jeremy's been collecting for a while now. He understands the market. He has relationships. As people start working on those things, say hello to people, talk to people. Those foundational things that you do will have you probably somewhere else in your journey later on, because we're all learning something. I went to a show this weekend and learned some stuff about some cards that I did not know. So we're all learning. You collect all that information, and then before you know it, you're pulling out some stuff. You're like, wow, man, I can't believe that.
Yeah, that's good advice. And I'll just to add on to that, FD, is listen, I do consider myself an experienced hobby veteran. I have been in it my whole life. And if I can pay myself a compliment, I'm older than I look. So I've been around a while, and, I'm still learning. Like, I'm still finding things that are new to me that are not new to others, but they're new to me. And I've seen people, make statements on Instagram or wherever recently saying, like, I'm getting bored of the hobby. There's no innovation. There's nothing new. It's the same prism year after year, the same parallels. My response is, you just got to take the blinders off. You have to be a little bit more open-minded and just expand your horizons. Look around. I don't care what sport if you only collect football, there are cards out there that you just don't know about. And maybe you want to start collecting rock and roll cards or Hollywood cards or Marvel cards or whatever. There is so much out there. Instagram's a great place, I find, to get exposed to just outside of your comfort zone or your what you really see. So yeah, it's there's always something to learn, always new cards to discover, and that's really the beauty of even 40 years in the hobby myself, and I'm still finding new things to collect, which is awesome.
Now you got to think, you just pulled out 60 years worth of cards right there a few months ago. There's been a lot of changes in cards, right? Even you're looking at that Bill Russell and you're looking at that Wilt, there are some things that you want to know about the pixelation of the picture, and some of them have dots in certain areas, right? But the card is beautiful. Then you move over to a LeBron acetate card. That's a material that nobody was making cards like that in the 60s and the 70s. Then you move over to PMGs. Jeremy, you remember when those cards were well undervalued. I mean, there's always something. I agree with you when people say that they're bored. There's just so much out there. Look around at something new. Maybe challenge yourself to learn a different sport or a different aspect of a sport. I know some people that only in basketball only collect centers, only collect point guards, only collect shooting guards. Michael Jordan may be a great player. Some people have fabulous collections, don't have any Michael Jordan in it.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great. If that's what you want. It is beautiful. My last thing for you is: do you have anything you want to say to the group before you leave? I want to respect your time. I know how much time we have here.
Well, you did also ask me about some of my big losses.
Yeah,
Or,
there you go. Let's balance this out, right?
Yeah. Let me share some cards that I sold too early. I don't think I've really bought. Listen, I bought a couple cards here and there. I always say to myself, and if people ask me, listen, don't buy this year's rookie crop the year they come out. You're always going to pay a lot of money for them, and they may not pan out. Wait a year, wait 2 years. Let them establish themselves. Let them get their feet under them. Let's make sure that they're going to have a great career, not get hurt, that kind of thing. I always think back to Brian Taylor for the New York Yankees way back. Jason Dominguez might be following in his footsteps.
Remember, Brian Taylor was everybody's talking about this guy.
It was huge. He was huge back in 1990, 91 when he signed that deal with the Yankees, and he never played. He was the hot card back then. So, I always say just kind of be patient, wait a bit. That said, sometimes I do go against my own advice. I bought I bought a Ja Morant card when I was at Burbank. When you reached out to me there, when I was in LA for a very short time back in March, I bought a Ja Morant card there. I'm okay with that right now, but I'm just saying, I haven't bought a lot of cards that have gone down in value. It's been hard to do that, right? Especially with the last couple of years that we just had. But I certainly sold some cards too early. And I went and I looked in my, I submitted cards to PWCC. I used to give them cards at the National to sell for me. And I went and looked at some of the history. Okay. And I've got a couple. I don't know if I should share my screen, or I can just, because I don't have anything to show you, but I'm looking at them either monitor. I can tell you what they were, or if you want me to, I can share my screen.
Share your screen, sir.
All right, sure thing. So let me just do that really quick. So this one right here, FD, if you can pull it up.
Yeah.
So that card there, I sold that. Look at that, September 20th, 2015. I sold it for $1,725. That card today is $20,000. So sold that one too early. This Sidney Crosby Future Watch autograph. It's a BGS 1010. I sold it for $1,800. Let me put it to you this way: his PSA 10 today sells for $15,000 or so. A BGS 10 with a 10 would probably sell today for, listen, I don't know exactly. I didn't look it up, but $25,000 maybe a bit more. So a lot of money left on the table right there. Here's a couple more. Here's a Crosby. Look at this, his Young Gun BGS 9.5. I sold it for $300. It's laughable. $325. This is, I don't know, it's a $4,000 card right now. This one here, this is a big loser for me. $205. This card is probably in $10,000-$15,000 right now. So
I'll note the names too of the quality of the players that you have here.
These are the best. These two guys are the best of the best from 2005 to the present, and I know that will make Tom Bullard happy to hear me say, because I know I do put Crosby ahead of Ovechkin, just myself, and my collection would reflect that. I have many more Crosby cards than Ovechkins, but I love Ovechkin too. I really do. But in any event, these two guys are the face of the hobby from 2005, really until Connor McDavid came in 2015. And I sold these too early. Definitely sold these two too early. So it hurts to look at them a little bit.
Yes.
This card here would now sell for $4,000. I got $310 for it. This card would probably sell for, this is Joe Sakic, Eric Lindros. That one I sold too early also. Not sure what that would go for today, but here we go. Alex Ovechkin limited logos. These go for about $4,000 now. I got $127 for it. And then this guy here. This would probably sell for $6,000 today.
Yeah, that's a wonderful card, Lemieux. On-card auto too, right? Yeah, wonderful.
On-card auto, 2 dual patch, both 3 colors, only 6 copies made. I got $317. I would buy this back for $3,000 today.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty crazy stuff there on I'm not sure what's next, so I don't want to flip to the next picture in case
Oh,
it
don't worry
has.
about it. Don't worry about it. But the moral of the story is that you had quality cars that you were moving early.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So so when you asked me, what are some of your wins, what are some of your losses? I don't know that I have sold cards at a loss, and I don't like doing it, but I've done it, and lately I am becoming more and more willing to sell a card for a loss. Thank you, Triple V. That's
Thank you
really
very much.
nice.
Yep.
I'm more willing now, FD, to sell a card for a loss because I'd rather take that money and put it into a new card that I can either make money on or put into my personal collection. Listen, I'm a collector through and through. I become an investor of consequence because my cards have gone up in value so much. But I also buy cards just to sell, and I buy collections. I'll buy big collections like for 5 figures and up, because usually when you're buying a collection, you're going to get a good deal because someone wants to move out of the cards. They want to just get it done. They don't want to do the work. And I travel to card shows and I love doing that. So I'm willing to take them off their hands. And but you really, I started doing card shows, buying and selling, just to feed my hobby habit, and that's still what I'm doing. I buy and sell, and whatever I make goes right back into the collection.